Yay! Here we are.
Hello.
Hi, everybody.
The time is there.
It's
We can
6
get
o'clock.
going. It's 6 o'clock.
I get to talk about Black Panther.
Oh God!
Okay, this is a real test for marriage. A lot of you know this week. By the way, who are we? I'm Tananarive. I am an author and a screenwriter, and I teach Afrofuturism and Black horror at UCLA.
I'm Stephen Barnes, and I have written Afrofuturism and science fiction and horror and suspense for television and novels and stuff like that for over 30 years.
Yes. His episode of The Outer Limits was one of the best. So in any case, this week, an amazing reporter for Entertainment Weekly, Anthony Bresnikan, offered me a ticket out of the blue, people, on Twitter. He's just like, hey, I know you may already have something, and I was like, what? So I got to go to the Hollywood premiere of Black Panther. And I understand there were two theaters, and one was where the celebrities were, and there was another one, and we were in the one with the celebrities. I got to see Angela Bassett shimmy on stage. I wasn't on the red carpet. I have 0 red carpet photos, but we can show, we can show my photo that Anthony took. I'm wearing the rest of this outfit, which includes that beautiful headpiece. There I am in front of this huge Black Panther display. That's the same place people were walking, all the stars were walking in. Can I just say, before we even get to Black Panther,
yes,
the lobby alone, they confiscated my camera, people. Once you get past a certain point, they made you put your camera in a bag that was locked, and you had to scan it to get the camera out. So here I am walking around this lobby. Everyone in Hollywood was at this premiere. I mean, there's Usher talking to Janelle Monáe. I said, hey to Janelle Monáe, no picture. I saw Ava DuVernay, said hey to her, no picture. Issa Rae was like, I know. I said, I'm Tananarive. She's like, I know, no picture. I mean, who didn't I see? Don Cheadle, I talked to. These are just people I talked to, not just the people I saw. David Oyelowo, I got to tell him, I was there with Jamie Broadnax from Black Girl Nerd. She was walking with me, and she said, when's your superhero movie? And he was kind of like, I'm not sure. Do they really give you the freedom? And I said, look, you've already done your superhero movie. It's called Selma. Boom. So that was just the lobby.
I like that.
But crowning that, the lights go down, and the film begins, and it's Black Panther, and it's happening, and it's real. And just the, I'm doing it again, am I? Just the experience of being there, the spirit of celebration in that theater. So you could tell, those of you who have been looking at the red carpet photos, the originality and pride that goes into a lot of the, like Daniel Kaluuya was wearing a traditional Ugandan outfit, and there was South African outfits, and just the sense of international pride in who we are, not pretending to be someone else, who we are. And this is what we've been seeing since the first trailers began to drop. If we could just cycle through the pictures, that would be great.
Mm-hmm.
The exciting images of power and imagination and the investment, people. Let's talk about the financial investment that Marvel has made in the adaptation of Black Panther. How much was this budget, sweetie?
We don't know, but it has to be upwards of $150 million. Let me give you a little context, I think, for Black Panther.
Sure.
Before, because you've got the crowning piece. You're actually going to be able to talk to people about
going to tell them
what
about
you saw.
Review,
you actually got a review.
We're going to prime you up for it, though.
I was 14 years old in 1966, when the first Black Panther first appeared.
Mm-hmm.
The first idea, basically what you have, a couple of New York Jews named Jack Kirby and Stan Lee looked out at the world, and they said, why aren't there Black superheroes?
Mm.
And because
we've been looking out at the world thinking the same thing.
Yes, but these guys had just come back. They'd come back from World War II.
Right.
They had seen the danger of exclusion. They had seen what happens when people's voices are stilled.
Oh, yes.
And from their blessed, deep humanity, they decided that they were going to create the first mainstream black superhero. Now, the first title, the first name before, in which Reed Richards, who was the smartest man in the Marvel universe, was sent a piece of technology that was beyond anything that he'd ever seen, a flying car that was beyond anything he could have created, and an invitation to Africa. He didn't know where in the world they were going. And the Fantastic Four goes to Africa, and they are attacked by this one man of staggering speed and agility and cleverness. And although they finally do manage to overcome him, because there were 5 of them, there was another one who had kind of snuck in, Wyatt Wingfoot, a Native American, actually. And the Black Panther takes his cowl off and he introduces himself as T'Challa, the king of Wakanda, and says that this entire thing was about testing his combat skills because he needed to go against Ulysses Klaue, renegade Zionist.
From the very first one.
From the very first one. And he needed to test his combat skills against the greatest fighters in the world. And that was the beginning of a friendship between Reed Richards and this amazing, intelligent, brilliant African prince named T'Challa. And over the next years, they were not able to. T'Challa had his own book a couple of times. It was never hugely successful, but the character was.
Talk to Dan.
Okay. Okay, it's kind of ill-used at times, but he was a fascinating character, and they would use him in many different ways. They started building up the mythology in Wakanda, where he was one of a line of Panther kings who had to ascend to the throne through rituals of combat, who had spiritual powers as well as physical powers, as well as being brilliant, educated in the greatest universities of the world, and Wakanda being the richest nation in the world, certainly per capita, because of its supply of vibranium, this amazing metal. I mean, you might as well call it unobtainium, for all the things it could do. But there was this tradition there. And if you want to, I have not seen the movie yet, but if you want to know how close disaster came, we know about Wesley Snipes wanting to make the movie 25 years ago, and I would have enjoyed Wesley.
That could have worked.
It could have worked.
They'd still be making this one.
That's right.
That could have worked.
We were told by very close to us that Hollywood was trying to create him as an American orphan who didn't know that his heritage. They were thinking about casting 50 Cent as T'Challa. I mean, the idea of this could have turned into something 50 horrifying.
Cent.
50 Cent. God bless him, but he couldn't even play himself.
And he said that. He said that. He did not rap in his own movie, though. He did not rap in his own movie. Someone explain that to me. So
neither did he act.
So here we are now in 2018. You've seen the clips. You've heard the excitement, the imagery, the Ruth Carter costuming, just the beautiful cinematography, just from what we've seen in the trailers. Never mind. I mean, remember when the first trailer came out? Well, first of all, I must have watched it 50 times. And then I watched YouTube videos with people dissecting the trailer.
Right.
It was, because that was all we had. And now there's so much, it's an embarrassment of riches. Before I get to the review real fast, I want to acknowledge that today Disney sent us an early Christmas present with a lot of Black Panther swag, because there are some great toys that are going to soon be available. The blanket did not come with the swag. That is a blanket from Tanzania that Steve brought.
Yes, I was researching the Great Sky Woman in Tanzania with my darling daughter, and just had a wonderful time there.
So you see, it's action figures, they're Legos. Jason was up a good part of the night working on the Legos. These, I forget what you call these these things. Oh. But anyway,
Pops,
Pops, right, sorry. A lot of detail with the toys. Let me get some close-ups. That's the mask. That looks actually big enough for an adult to wear, to tell you the truth. It's a pretty big mask. Oh my gosh, Shuri. I tweeted today, if I had had this action figure of Shuri when I was a kid, she would have been running my whole toy game. She would have been running Barbie, Ken, and G.I. Joe. So this is amazing. I also have Planet of the Apes, and she would have been running them for sure. So yeah, there's just a lot of excitement around Black Panther and what it represents. Oh, I guess okay. So we're going out of order. Okay,
Yeah.
So
because what I wanted to say was that now that we know what Black Panther is specifically, its comic book origins, I thought that we'd talk a little bit about where the entire concept of Black Panther fits in the overall structure of fiction. I go from art is self-expression. Mm-hmm. Craft is the language with which you express your art, and the commercial art then is art that is expressed with craft in a way to find a market. Okay, so if you take that notion, then you say there are many different types of art. There's dance, and there's art, there's graphic art, and there's music, and there's literature. Okay, let's go bang over to literature. Storytelling. Let's say storytelling has visual and written aspect. There is a genre of storytelling called science fiction. And science fiction asks the question, what if only, and if this goes on?
And this is all context, obviously from my review of Black Panther to sort of know, what its lineage is in terms of science fiction, especially Afrofuturism, because Afrofuturism is a science fiction fantasy and horror of the African diaspora. So it's films, it's literature, music, art.
That's right.
And it is this kind of ennobling and inspiring imagery that we've seen in the Black Panther clips. I love this, for example. It was like, hello, thank you. This is an African nation. Look at my spaceship, like my craft. So, this is Afrofuturism, and there will be a lot of conversations about Afrofuturism in the wake of Black Panther, because it having seen it, I can tell you, it so embodies what Afrofuturism why Afrofuturism matters. It's the importance of representation. Just to say I am, to look in a mirror and see a face is so important to us. It's such an important nutrient. Dispelling myths about the limitations of Black stories is not being universal,
right?
Which has held up so many projects and so many creatives over the years. And then the power of Afrofuturism, which is really where we start to take control of our destiny, the Black speculative arts. So whether it's myths of African goddesses, or Shuri as a technological genius in Black Panther, Afrofuturism expands our vision of ourselves. It breaks barriers. In music, you have fusion stylings and groundbreaking music like Sun Ra, Janelle Monáe was there, George Clinton, Beyonce. I did not see Beyonce there.
Was she there?
I don't know.
Okay.
So I can't be sad that I don't have a picture with Beyonce because I don't know if she's there. But Afrofuturism puts us squarely in the heart of the future as an act of creation. So this is, and before I get to the review, and I swear I'm going to get to it, I know you're waiting. This is about world building. Steve and I were kind of joking with each other before the webinar began, because we hear people on sort of all spectrums of politics, from sort of racist leaning whites to to Black people who consider themselves super woke, who are dismissive of Black Panther, like, oh, it's not like, it's just a movie. Oh, it's not like it's a movement or anything. And I think those people are some of them willfully, but others of them are genuinely missing the point, because Black Panther and writers like the late Octavia Butler and superstar Nnedi Okorafor and M.K. Jemisin create convincing worlds that point out the flaws in our own world and help steer us toward building a better future. And there's a link. So when you say it's not movement, well, sure, a movie is a movie.
Look,
but it helps inspire movement.
Movies are the most popular and powerful art form in human history. They unite us as a people, as a species, more than any art form ever has. And when you see images like you're going to see in Black Panther, and then you realize that Disney, that never had a single Black human character in a single animated film in the entire 20th century until 1999. At the end of 1999, Fantasia 2000 came out, and they finally had one Black guy. And
then they followed that with the Frog, Princess and the Frog.
That's right. Finally, in the 21st century,
right.
When you realize that Disney gambled over $150 million of their money to make this movie, that means that they looked at the audience and thought there is going to be an audience for this. That is a huge, huge change.
Yes.
So it's not just the movie; it's what the movie represents culturally.
Yeah.
In terms of people are ready to believe that we are more than we've been presented to be.
And we can't calculate the impact that it has on children. I mean, just those toys alone, even without.
I think it's time for us to go to our faces.
Yeah, go to our faces, because I really am dying to tell you all about Black Panther. Just as I've been dying to tell this guy about Black Panther. It's been a hard, no one thinks about how hard it is on those of us who have seen
poor baby.
it. And we have to keep the secret.
I'm so sorry.
And I would have seen it like 5 times by now.
How I wish I could have taken that burden from you.
I know, it's not right. But in any case, okay, so here's okay. So, full disclosure, I am completely biased. So I'm not going to claim I'm not biased. I teach Afrofuturism, like I said, with Steve and also at UCLA. I'm a lifelong genre fan, and I've been shamelessly tweeting about this film from the first casting announcement of Lupita, which goes back more than a year. I'm pretty sure it had already become a cultural phenomenon before a single frame was shot. And if you're on Twitter and in social media circles where that's true, you know what I'm talking about. And I'm definitely caught up in that groundswell. That's why Disney sent me those toys, because I won't shut up about this movie. And actually, a lot of you are the same way, and that's why you're here. So this is good. We're family, okay? Black Twitter in particular has been memeing. It's for those of you who don't know, we've been planning a long time the clothes we're going to wear, who we're going to go with, the church dinner buffet in the lobby. I saw someone tweeting, don't enforce rules about not bringing outside food because we're going to be bringing our jollof rice and our this and our that. And, it's just like, so how we're going to dance into the theater with our crew. So every new announcement, every new trailer has been a celebration in social media because we are that hyped up for this movie. And I want to say, this brings me to my first point. I want to say, be careful of too much hype. But I can't say that. I can't say that because it lives up to the hype. It lives up to the hype, and more than that, because here's the biggest fear. The best stuff is in the trailer. I had that bad weekend at Bernie's experience. Some of you may have had that too. All the good stuff was in the trailer. The rest was just, it's not that, okay? It's the total opposite of that. As a matter of fact, the glimpses you've seen in the trailers. And by the way, please stop watching new footage. They might drop something during the Super Bowl. I know a lot of you will anyway. But I want to argue against watching the new footage. If you love your inner child at all, just go and be surprised. You've seen enough. You know what it is, okay? But it's just that. It's glimpses. The barest glance at the larger scale with a whole lot of more left to unfold, even in the clips you've seen. And plenty in clips you haven't seen. Plenty. So how is it? It is spectacular. It is everything I wanted and some things I didn't even know I could hope for, frankly. Now, granted, I was at a cast screening. Cast screenings, you've got the magic, goodwill in the air, the director in the room, everyone's feeling good. So, yes, you're wearing rose-colored glasses, perhaps. If you're at a screening, you're infused with that excitement from the moment. But there were really moments where my mouth was just like dropping up. I mean, really dry. I don't mean that figuratively. I mean, I was like, because it was like, oh, we're doing that? Or like, oh, we're going there? So it was kind of like that. Don't worry if you don't know the Black Panther universe. Don't worry if you've never even seen another Marvel movie or any other superhero movie. I mean that sincerely. It's a standalone story introducing a world Marvel has never unfurled on screen. And I would say that counts the end of Civil War. That's like a stand-in, for Wakanda until we get a movie shot. But no, the end of Civil War, as excited as we were to see that Big Panther, no, it is not the Wakanda of Black Panther. One interviewer asked me just today if I thought Black Panther might have Oscar chances. We're just talking because he'd seen it, I'd seen it. So we're kind of talking. And I said, yes, on the basis definitely of costume design and set design alone. Not only does Black Panther look unlike any other Marvel movie, I really think it's fair to say it looks unlike any other movie, certainly any other big budget studio movie. And who could have afforded it otherwise? I mean, there's nothing else like it.
Yeah, exactly.
There's nothing else like it. But, and here's the great part, It's not just all style and no substance, although there is plenty of style, from costuming to world building to technology. But these actors bring moving performances that feel mindful of the task before them on the screen. They're trying to create a film that will have an impact, that will electrify the world, especially the African diaspora. A moment of acting got applause at the premiere. At least one, probably more than one, but at least one I remember specifically got applause at the premiere, like it was a moment of action, which also got applause. So it's not just the style. I was swept away by the story, deeply bound, like everyone who clapped in that moment between those two characters. And I won't even say which characters, because no spoilers. But in terms of the cast, Chadwick Boseman simply is T'Challa. I saw him at the premiere of Marshall, and the way he glided by, I went back and I tweeted, you know what? This guy really is T'Challa, and he's pretending to be an actor. So he inhabits that role, and maybe has been inhabiting it off screen too. I don't know. Maybe it's method acting, but he is T'Challa. I think you'll understand what I mean when you see it. Michael B. Jordan, I know you've heard a lot of buzz about him. He had an absolute breakout performance as Eric Killmonger. Denai Guerrera and Letitia Wright are luminous. Lupita Nyong'o is fantastic. Angela Bassett is fantastic. There were really, I would say, big moments for everyone in the film. The characterization is excellent. I know these characters' names because I know the characters. I know the family. I know the nation now. The humanity and the characterization helps us enter the fantasy realm and be ensnared by it, the way you would hope, from a good book. It's a rich environment in that way. Here's what I wasn't expecting: the humor. Okay, this isn't the silly humor in the last Thor. What was the last Thor movie called? Anyway, Ragnarok, right. This isn't the silly humor. Thank you, Penny. This isn't the silly humor in Thor Ragnarok, which it was cute, but no. The humor, though, in Black Panther works very effectively in humanizing the characters. And then some of the humor is really just for us. It's almost naughty humor, like, wow, they went there, And you're just sort of cackling that you're even getting away with it, It's like, oh, my God. The other surprise to me was the depth of emotion in the philosophical questions at the root of the conflict in this story. The story isn't real, but it's about reality in that unique way that Afrofuturism has of reflecting our world back at us through a distorted lens. And women, if you loved Wonder Woman, if you were stirred by Wonder Woman, wait until you meet the Dora Milaje. Just wait. And I'm just going to leave it there. That it's all there. Very little of the actual plot has been revealed in the existing trailers. So there are surprises galore. And here's why I'm advising you to keep it that way as much as possible. Look, those guys at Marvel are pretty smart, okay, and maybe Lady or two. They're pretty smart. They know how to market a movie without giving too much away. They've been doing very well, thank you. Okay, I'm sure there are experts who have way more experience than I do who think they could show far more and it would still be fine. But I'll tell you, I'm the kind of person who doesn't even like to read a review. Once I know a movie is good, it has good word of mouth, the less I know, the better. And I felt like there was one trailer I watched with Steve post-viewing that unfolded an entire scene almost in the casino. And I was like, not an entire scene, but enough of a scene that I hadn't seen so much of that when I went to the theater. That was part of the delight for me, was watching that unfold. So there's a rhythm to the way these action scenes. No, they're not going to show you enough to hurt you. They're not going to show you enough to give away the plot. But they are showing you, I think, already enough potentially to ruin the rhythm of how these action scenes unfold. Because it's the oh and the oh, So you're going to get all the ohs, but you're going to miss some of those oh bumps that come before that. And I it's like a staircase to the way the action scenes are choreographed. And you're going to want those surprises. You know what? We're so close. I know that's easy for me to say, but we're so close. And watch Civil War 2 or 3 more times, if you really need that fix. But yeah, I think almost in some ways the more recent clips are to sort of reassure people who aren't like me and maybe a lot of you who can't wait to see this and have been waiting for it for months, but maybe they're on the fence. Is this really a Marvel movie? Is this movie for white people? I think is probably a genuine question people are asking. So I think there's some strategy in showing clips where, yeah, the white actors are active. And it's not all in that Wakanda, and that kind of thing. But really, all that aside, this film is wholly unapologetic in its blackness and its celebration of ancestry and its celebration of heritage and in its attitude. And I'm not going to say any more because, but just in case you're wondering, did she really see that movie? I will give one small thing away, if you'll forgive me, but it's for your own good. Don't leave before the credits are over because there's a stinger, okay? As often is the case in Marvel. So don't be that one who's like, wait, what happened? At the office the next day, okay? I don't care how early you have to go to work. Watch till the end, like the end of the credits. And that's it.
That's great. Okay.
That's all I got. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Woo.
Thank you, Tananarive.
Yeah.
We had questions like, well, first of all, yes, I'm wearing a Black Panther shirt. Of course I am. Of course I am. And is Chadwick regal? I think you answered that
very
question.
Regal. Absolutely, very regal.
Okay. And one of the questions about the action. You're not an action connoisseur, but
you
love action.
I do. I love action. I think it delivers on the action. So don't be worried about that. We're seeing some good stuff in the clips, but there's more. There's more.
Great. So, oh, wow. It's difficult to even say. I mean, it's like even before I found out they were going to do a Black Panther movie, being a Marvel head, being a Marvel zombie, as DC fans like to call us, and watching this renaissance, Kevin Feige.
Yes.
It's to know that Stan Lee is still alive, to see this happen, to see his creations come to the screen. It's difficult to even say how happy the little kid inside me is. Now, there's a part of me that is happy to have watched the growth of things, to go from the first moment I ever saw a black man on screen acting with real authority, which would have been Sidney Poitier as Virgil Tibbs in the Heat of the Night, where a white man slaps him and he slaps the guy back.
Right.
I had never seen a moment like that. I sat there in the movie theater and it was like, is that possible? I mean, it's sad to think about that. You want to go back to screen sharing?
Okay. Screen share, just so we're talking. I mean, why not be looking at Black Panther footage when you can be?
Yes, that's right.
That would be my attitude.
But the question I have to ask myself is, who would I have been had there been images like this when I was a kid? If I grew up with the assumption that I was special, the assumption that I had something about me that could be world changing, world beating. That my mom when I was 10 years old said to me, Steve, if you let white people know how smart you are, they will kill you. The difference between that and the conflicts that set up in my head, and telling the kid you can be anything.
Right.
You can be anything. If you think movies are not important, you miss the fact that every culture on the planet has its mythologies. It says that they are heroes, they're kings, they're queens, they're connected directly to God. This is important. It's not frosting. It's meat and potatoes. It's the basic, because kids look out at the world and what they want to know is, who am I? What is the world? How will I become a man, become a woman? How will I find love? How will I find a trade, support myself, raise children? What is it like to be a parent? How will it feel to watch my parents grow old and die? Who am I and what is true about the world? And comic books and novels and myths and story and song, all of these things address this. What we have in Black Panther is a brilliant young filmmaker who has created something that's going to change the world. Reggie Hudlin said to us, Hollywood has never seen what happens when there is a movie that all the black people go to see.
Several times.
Yes, this is what we're about to see. We're about to experience a cultural phenomenon, because it won't just be black people. Black people and white people will be sitting in those theaters, roaring, clapping, applauding, walking out together, having shared an experience that they could not have had 20 years ago, 30 years ago. This is the world that our children get to grow up in. We get to shut the door on the past and say that we have the potential to be heroes.
Absolutely.
We're heroes. We come from somewhere. We're meaningful. This is the moment of American culture I've been waiting for my entire life. The election of Barack Obama, movies like Get Out, movies like Black Panther, the conversations that are going on, Black Lives Matter, the conversations that are happening about who are we as a nation, who are we as human beings. To me, fantasy, good fantasy, touches on these things, and great fantasy actually changes the people who observe it.
All that you touch, you change, as Octavia Butler
That's
wrote.
right.
And as a matter of fact, I'm not just guessing that there will be massive community impact from Black Panther, because we've already heard from people who are working to create that community impact.
That's right.
Donated some courses to a children's group in Oakland, and major activists is galvanizing Afrofuturists from around the country to create programming for everyone from children to adults. What is Afrofuturism? What's the context of Black Panther? So we'll tell you more about that when we know more.
That is coming. We have your contact information, and as soon as we have these portals, these places where artists and Afrofuturists are going to be able to come together, we will make sure that you know about this.
And you've probably seen many people raising money to send kids to Black Panther. A lot of GoFundMe campaigns running around.
See, there's never been anything
right
like this. And I'm not going to, in enthusiasm, you have to know what you want to change and why you want to change something. Emotion is the fuel of action. So the emotions that people are feeling right now, we can use this. And yes, that wave will break, and don't worry, it's not going to be a straight line. There will be other problems. There will be disasters.
Well, that's
what happens in humanity.
Look at the political slingshot we're experiencing right now. While the arts are thriving, our politics are back, it feels like, in the Stone Age compared to where we were not too long ago. So this has been a real learning experience. It's one of those happy occasions where you can blend escapism with so much inspiration that it makes you want to go out, and it energizes you to want to go out and have real world impact. I want to get to some of the questions.
Yes.
One of them, Cynthia asked, do I think everyone's star equity will increase? Yeah, I do want them to be rewarded and get more. As always, it's up to the decisions that individual actors make. I see you guys are having a sideline conversation about that. Michael B. Jordan has made really good choices, and hopefully will continue to do that. Chadwick Boseman, of course. But who people maybe were sleeping on would be Denai Guerrera. I think.
I've heard very specific comments about her being wonderful.
Yeah, because it's such a physical performance. It's almost hard to think of another actress who's brought out such a physical performance in a major film. So that's a breakout performance for her.
McGregor wants to know, is Chadwick somewhat sidelined by the supporting cast?
I think everyone's worried about that because a lot of the new clips have focused the Dora Milaje.
And a lot of the reviews, not reviews, but the Twitter comments have praised the supporting cast tremendously.
I think the thing of it is, this is a hard question to answer because Black Panther as a character was introduced in a really grand and bold way in Civil War. Now, this film is not only coming back to Black Panther's story, but really introducing an entire nation and culture and lineage and history and family and kingdom, and bears the responsibility of carrying all of that, because this is the first glance some of us will have at any of that. Okay, so it's a rich world that has more of an ensemble feel than, say, Spider-Man, certainly, or Iron Man, But I did not feel while I was watching the film that T'Challa was sidelined. Plot-wise, the story revolves around him.
I had a thought about that, not having seen it, but so just in terms of what the director might be doing in that sense, and that is that the American attitude is very hierarchical. There is the independent, the loner. He does it all by himself. But there are other cultures that see us as part of a tapestry, see us part of an interwoven fabric of humanity, that we are not separate from our tribe. We're not separate from our people. And my guess is, first of all, I think that Ryan Coogler had his ancestors whispering to him, that he surrounded himself by the elders in Hollywood, as well as probably, technical experts in many different ways, and saw that the best way to describe and express T'Challa's strength is to show the strength of his people. He's the king of a mighty people.
Well, doesn't it also make sense? I mean, look at Tony Stark. He's a selfish character. Of course, the films are going to revolve mostly around him. We're in Wakanda. we're creating an entirely different culture,
right?
A more communal culture, as a matter of fact. So it makes sense.
It was asked, is a lot of the action in America?
I'm not going to answer. What? No, I'm not going to answer that question. I'm sorry, Cardell. I'm not going to answer that question, except to say that Black Panther was filmed mostly in the United States in Atlanta. So in that sense, perhaps, but I can't answer that. I do want to answer Darian Robbins' question. Welcome, Darian Robbins, great graphic artist who did that great. I wish I almost used the card with your Shuri on the cover of Wired magazine that's been floating around social media. How will the success of Black Panther translate to boosting Afrofuturistic and comic book projects from independent creators? This is a really good question, and this is where we, the consumers, will bear responsibility. Even some of the comic sales for Black Panther haven't been what Marvel would have wanted. So it can be difficult sometimes to translate between mediums. Film versus reading. There are creative measures I think all of us as artists and as fans will have to take to boost more of the independent artists. Now, having said that, I do think that we will see a ripple effect, especially among people who are already kind of poised at the door. Like Nydia Okorafor, award-winning author, already has Who Fears Death set up at HBO. Okay, so that's happening simultaneously. Victor LaValle has the Ballad of Black Tom.
Ava DuVernay in Wrinkle in Time.
Yeah, Ava DuVernay. We may be talking to her in a couple weeks for our webinar. Is doing Wrinkle in Time. So there will be people who benefit because they're ready and they have advocates who can take the meetings and they're at the door. Some of the people who are not at that level, most of us who are creating, doing our own social media and our own publicity. That's where we have a responsibility to try to bring each other up and educate each other and educate other fans that Black Panther isn't the only comic out there, I
mean, I think that what you can say is Ryan Coogler did student films. Mm-hmm. And then he went from there to Fruitvale Station. And he went from there to Creed, which is his first mainstream success. Then he went from there to Black Panther. Steven Soderbergh is just doing a movie that he shot on his iPhone. Mm-hmm. Okay. So what you have now is a model for how to go from absolutely nothing, from zero. And then you can start your distribution via YouTube.
Right.
Okay. You can start from zero and you've got a path. Now, what does this mean? It means that there are people who are going to shine. Yeah. There are people who are going to take off. There are, and who knows how it's going to happen. The door being open doesn't mean they're going to go out and shower you with money, but it does mean that once the world changes, as long as you're not expecting it to get easy, it will not be easy. It's never been easy in the arts. But if you are prepared, I think the world is ready to hear what you have to say. And for a little while here, there's going to be a lot of such projects, and then it'll die off.
It's a unique moment. It's a unique moment. So I would say, like what Darian is doing, getting his stuff out on social media is huge. You don't know whose eye you're going to catch. Twitter is so random. Disney sitting, what? Even Jordan Peele coming to my class, that's all from Twitter. That's all in fact, I got my invitation to the premiere from someone who followed me on Twitter, from the reporter who followed me on Twitter. So social media is huge, and there are people standing already. Amy is pointing out Black Lightning on the CW. I had to figure out where that network was. But anyway, Black Lightning is excellent. It's not Black Panther. It's very different. It's even more of a family drama. But I am just so impressed by the excellence of the writing and acting in that show week by week. So that helps a lot, that there's quality in the wings, rather than sort of a mediocre attempt at a Black Lightning, which then dampens prospects.
The real question I have is, are you ready? Are you ready to support artists? Are you ready to teach artists? Are you ready to be an artist? Are you ready to take the risk? Because the barriers are as low as they're going to be in your lifetime.
That's for sure.
It is never going to be you're never going to have a better combination of opportunity and energy. Because
this is such a historic moment.
That's right. And people are actually asking the question, what's next?
Right.
For a while now, there's going to be a wave. And if you can catch that wave, and if you're one of the top 10% of the people in that wave, when the wave breaks, you'll still be there. 90% of everything is crap. That's just what happens. But you make sure that you are ready and that you have the chops and you're going to be okay. It's going to be better now than it has ever been. There has never been a better time to be a Black artist in America.
And you know what really helps is to also stay a fan and to just really be excited when good things happen for other people. You know, would I like to have a series in development at HBO? Sure, I would, you know, but I'm still so excited for what Nettie's doing. And, you know, I'm so excited about so many creators right now. So when you can stay in that space where you're appreciative as a fan and just glad somebody's out there, it really helps you stay centered so you can just keep your head in your own work. Don't measure yourself.
Darian Robbins keeps making sure that we say that this is a magical moment.
It is
and well, let's make sure that you are aware of what we're doing in terms of the portal, Afrofuture. We hook you into the network of artists so that, you know, you can participate too. We don't want to exclude anybody. There's so much work to be done.
There's room for everyone.
There's room for everybody.
And then Amy is asking a really good question, which is the question of the hour. You know, we had it in the 70s, even previous to the 90s, but also how is this different than Spike Lee's breakout led to the the mid 80s to the approximately late 90s in U.S. cinema? I think of that era as the 90s, but you're right. That did start earlier than the 90s. And there you had this renaissance in Black film. Jamie Foxx was breaking out, and all kinds, romantic comedies, action. You know, there was nothing about race at all except the casting for the most part for a lot of these films.
I would say the biggest difference is there are more of us behind the camera. There are more of us in the boardrooms. That we've proven that there is money to be made. It's going to make huge money.
Yeah, I don't think it can snap back again.
Not to the way it was.
The same way it did. I mean, there are still people, I think, privately in pitching meetings, executives thinking, do the characters have to be Black? But honestly, there's less of that.
I bet that there are a lot of them now saying, can the characters be Black? I mean, and once again, as long as you do not, please, I beg you, do not expect this to be some sort of utopia. Do not expect that it's going to be a straight line, milk and honey on the other side.
The struggle is real.
The struggle is real, and the struggle of art has always been real. And there are definitely forces pushing back. You just saw the thing about, you know, people are going to bomb the, you know, I'm sorry, wrong word. That's what they call it. They're going to hit Rotten Tomatoes audience scores and try to lower it the same way that they did with Last Jedi. There are racists and jealous people are going to try to sit on things, are going to try to stop things. Those forces are still there. But if you are strong, and that's what we're asking you to do, be strong, support these movies, create this art, support the artists. This is the moment that you've been waiting for your entire life. You, right now, listening to this, you are the hope and the dream of the slave. I kid you not, both Black people and their allies.
Yeah, So Darian, while I talk about this, you can move to the slides. But Darian is saying that technology is making a huge difference in this. And that's absolutely right. First of all, and that's a good way to answer your question, Amy, we can't go back to the way it was when if you can afford an iPhone, you can shoot a movie. You know, I mean, that's a big, big difference. I remember when I was in college, my college classmates were shooting on 16 millimeter film or 35 millimeter, even sometimes super, super expensive. So that's a big difference between someone who has the capital to make a film and someone who doesn't. So I had students in my Black horror class, and I've had this happen before at Spelman. These are at UCLA. Did amazing short films. They had just a little bit of inspiration from Get Out, and boom, the next thing I knew, they were making these great shorts. So this is the power of Afrofuturism, and we wanted to talk to you about.
We wanted to talk about what happens if you want to know what you can do. There are many, many people out there opening many, many doors, and we try to open as many doors as we can. And there's one of the things that we have done was we took 2 lifetimes of experience in this, and we created a 10-week experience for people who are fans and want to understand it, they want to teach it, or they want to create it. And with your kind indulgence, we wanted to talk to you about what it is so that you can decide what is your next step. What are you going to do other than just watch Black Panther? Right. If you've got the heart for that, then one of the things you're going to want to do...
Take a deeper dive into Afrofuturism. I started out teaching Afrofuturism at UCLA, and then Steve and I, and then this is not a UCLA affiliated course, but we adapted it to our own webinar of Afrofuturism using a lot of the same curriculum from my UCLA course, which is an overview. This is like, oh, wow, I really like Black Panther. I didn't know I like science fiction. I didn't know I like fantasy and horror. Well, maybe you didn't know that because you didn't see yourself reflected in it. And once you're reflected in it, that can make all the difference. So what makes Get Out so breakout? Luke Cage on Netflix. Cheo Hodari Coker is the showrunner there. I saw him at the Black Panther
and he
premiere.
spoke to us for our class. We've got him. We basically we opened our Rolodex and we started talking to who are the people we've talked to who are doing it. You're doing it at our level or above.
Right.
That was all. Either our level or above, because we wanted to bring people the very best that we could. So Nnedi Okorafor and Cheo Hodari Coker and Reggie Hudlin and
Bree Newsome, who made a short horror film called Wake, and she's also an activist. So it's an overview of Afrofuturism. What is it that leads us to Wakanda? In fact, when I teach it at UCLA next quarter, I'm going to call it Wakanda Bound.
Wakanda Bound. There you go.
That's what this is. It's like, oh, okay. There's this whole body of work that's also in support of the world of Black Panther. There's music, Sun Ra, George Clinton, Janelle Monáe, even Beyonce, Kendrick Lamar. All right, look at the music video and how he's levitating. This is fantasy. It's Afrofuturism.
And if you're going to create Afrofuturistic art, if you're going to try to do this, that quest, you're going to run into stress. I mean, that's one of the things that people don't talk about in the arts. And one of the things that has made it possible for me to write and publish 3 million words is I had technologies that allowed me to keep my emotions balanced. Now, I spent, many, many years studying martial arts and yoga and meditation. So it's like, what is it that actually helps me keep that part of my head on straight? How do you deal with disappointment and betrayal and failure and the doubt in your mind? So we actually put together a suite, we call it an emotional care kit for social justice warriors.
We reclaim that term to its original greatness.
Yes, social justice writers, whatever. But there are tools for learning how to get into flow, for healing yourself emotionally, for stimulating creativity, for dealing with fear, for dealing with stress, for banishing insomnia.
In fact, I couldn't sleep for 2 nights hardly after seeing the Black Panther premiere, and nothing was going to help me. But this will help you.
That's right. And we also had a lecture, The 3 Greatest Mistakes Made by New Writers. Now, these things, as individual products, were all designed to be sold for over $100. Actually, a couple of them were like $99, but some of them were like several $100s.
Yeah, the Afrofuturism course is a 10-week course. It's a combination of lecture and guest appearances. So yeah, that cost several $100.
Well, that was the Afrofuturism course originally. That was like $300 or $400, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So basically, what we did was we decided to stack up the value on this. And if you have questions concerning sales, how do I sell my stuff once I've got it? I even talked to a Sufi master to create a program called the Spiritual Entrepreneur, which is basically about marketing from a spiritual standpoint. If you've got something that you feel is of benefit to the world, you have an obligation to offer it to people in a way that allows them to make an adult decision. Should I exchange my money for your time and energy? It's hard for artists to do this.
Very hard.
Because we're coming from our hearts. We just want to share.
We
just want to dance, give it away. But if you want to spend your time in the arts, you have to have a way of being able to unapologetically say, this is my time, this is my energy, exchange your value to me. Me personally, I will either give my time away for free or I have to charge people for it because otherwise my family is not safe. So when we totaled up what it was that we created here, the Afrofuturism class,
10 weeks,
the 10-week class, if you took it at UCLA, it would have been $1,250. The self-care for social justice warriors, the 3 greatest mistakes, the spiritual entrepreneur. If we did all of those things, the total value would have been at least $2,000. But what we did over Christmas was we dropped that price to just $99.
So that's for everything. That's for the 10-week course, which really it's an overview, again, literature, music, film of Afrofuturism, lectures, and guest appearances from a lot of amazing artists. And also these other extras. And
we added, it's what we wanted to do is what more can we give you? What can we give you to make sure you've got every basic tool that you need to move forward as far as you possibly can? And we did we had an entire class that was designed for teaching social justice.
Oh, right, yeah.
The
I
idea.
forgot this word was in here.
Yeah, because it was, that was a completely different class.
Yeah, we did a 6-week course.
Yes, that was $300.
Zach Stentz, who was the screenwriter on Thor, was one of our guests.
And Nisi Shaw, David Gerald,
Daniel Jose Older, one of my former students, who's now an absolutely great fantasy writer, rising star.
All of these people, we brought all these people to you
to talk about how to create art that has impact. It's like I would dream that someone like a Ryan Coogler would look at something like that and say, aha, this is how I can create art, but at the same time I'm discussing things I care about.
So I don't know. I honestly don't know how to give more, how to do more, how to give you more of what it is that you need to find out, do you have the heart? Do you have the skill? Can you leverage your emotions and your actions to actually be the next Ryan Coogler?
Yeah. Take your excitement over Black Panther and put it in either becoming an amazingly informed fan or a creator, or a teacher.
Or teacher. I mean, so it's like, we don't know what more we can do. What thing we can do is we can tell you that we've got all this swag sitting over here.
I didn't know. I don't think I found anything. Oh, maybe one.
Okay. So what we will do is we're going to be very jealous of this, but what we're going to do is sign up today, and we're going to have a drawing for some of this swag. We're going to give away one piece of swag.
And he'll be wrestling that out of my hand. But anyway, we'll pick something that won't make me cry. But yeah, we want to share also. So absolutely, if you sign up for it today, we'll put your name in a drawing to get a piece of swag sent from Disney. And during this amazing time before Black Panther has dropped, but a few people have seen it. It's all super exciting. Oh, and of course, the URL is www.afrofuturismwebinar.com to set up.
So listen,
let me see if there are any other questions.
Yeah, any other questions? Because look, you guys are family. We're not going to give you a hard sell about this. We're here to share our enthusiasms and answer any questions that we can. This is something that is so close to our hearts.
Jack is asking, and
yes.
I think it's fair. I think I can answer this.
What's that?
Does Black Panther have a bit of a feel of a James Bond movie with international intrigue, sophistication of the heroes, and exotic? I mean, I didn't look at it that way. I saw the hype when someone said it was James Bond meets The Godfather, and I guess those comparisons work. But now that I've seen the film, that's not how it felt to me, but it actually does have all of those things that you mentioned. Of course it has international intrigue. Of course it has the sophistication of the heroes and exotic action adventure. So if that's your definition of what a James Bond movie feels like, then okay, it's got all that stuff. But I don't think a lot of people in the audience, as they're watching it, would be thinking, oh, just like James Bond, Right. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I haven't seen it yet, but I have read articles with Ryan Coogler where he was talking about how he specifically looked at some of the early Bond movies. Okay. Not all of them, but some of them, not just the silly stunts and stuff like this, but the question of the intrigue, the hyper competent human being, the person who can resolve a situation because he is completely committed to his cause.
Right.
Cannot be stopped because he knows who he is, and that kind of thing. I mean, obviously we've seen from the coming attractions the casino scene, we've seen the fight scenes, the chase scenes.
The most James Bond. When I saw that hype before seeing the movie, and I heard the quote about James Bond, I thought about, that trailer moment in the casino must be what he's talking about.
Right.
Because but there's so many things about the imagery in Black Panther that are untraditional that it's hard to find traditional comparisons for me personally. Well,
all I know is I cannot wait to see it.
Yes, and I can't wait for you to see it.
And I hope to see some of you guys there. And on the other side of it, we're going to have more conversations. We're going to unpack it. We're going to look at every aspect of that movie, both in the sense of just enjoying it as fans, but also how to teach people how to appreciate art and how to create art. And for those of you who have the heart to create art, I just want so much to give you everything that I've learned about this stuff. And I know Tananarive is just such a natural teacher of these things. I hope that you will join us, www.afrofuturismwebinar.com. We put together a package. We don't know how to give you more value.
So check it out. remember the raffle for the swag. I have to figure out what to give. I'll give it gladly with love.
From the bottom of your heart.
You guys have an amazing weekend. Sweet Black Panther dreams. Let's all go off to Wakanda in our imaginations tonight.
All right. Take care, guys.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.